I didn't realize I was being followed until the guy in the gray sedan missed his third chance to pass me. That's the detail I always come back to, because at first nothing about him seemed strange except that he kept staying behind me even when the road opened up. It was late, maybe 10:40, 10:45 at night, and I was driving home from my shift at a dental lab on the edge of town. We made crowns and bridges for local offices, and because one of our milling machines had jammed right before closing, I'd stayed almost 2 hours later than normal, helping the technician reset it. My route home was the same every night. East on Mason, left at the Shell station, then through a residential stretch that cut 15 minutes off the highway route. I'd taken it so many times I barely thought about it anymore. But that night, once I turned off Mason, I noticed headlights making the turn behind me almost immediately. Again, not weird by itself, plenty of cars used that road. What caught my attention was when we reached the first long straightaway, and he didn't go around. I was doing maybe 5 under because there are always deer out there. He stayed exactly 3 car lengths back. Then we hit the first stop sign, and when I rolled through the intersection, he rolled through. Same distance. I remember checking my rearview mirror a little longer than necessary and seeing the driver's face washed pale by his dashboard light, but not enough to make out features. At that point, I still figured we just happened to be going the same way. It happens. But then I made a right turn I almost never make. There's a weird dogleg side street called Harrow Lane that reconnects with the main road after a block. I took it mostly because I'd forgotten if the usual road was under construction. He turned too. That's when my stomach did that drop thing where your body reacts before your brain fully catches up. I told myself not to be dramatic. Maybe he lived there. Maybe I was overthinking it. But then I intentionally missed the reconnect and made another turn, this one into a neighborhood I had no reason to be in. He followed that too. I could feel my hands tightening on the steering wheel. It's weird how your brain starts cataloging details when you get scared. Like suddenly I noticed one of his headlights was slightly dimmer than the other, and his front bumper had one of those faded college decals half peeled off near the plate. He wasn't tailgating. He wasn't trying to spook me. He was just there. Patient, matching me. I made 4 more turns. Every single one, he mirrored. By then I knew. I knew in the way you know a stove is hot before touching it. My whole body had gone cold. I grabbed my phone from the cup holder and almost called 911 right there, but part of me hesitated because I still had that stupid fear of sounding ridiculous if it turned out to be nothing. So instead, I called my older brother Jake because he lived 15 minutes away and had always been the person I defaulted to in a crisis. He answered on the second ring and immediately heard something in my voice. I told him I thought someone was following me. He asked where I was. I gave him cross streets while glancing in the mirror every few seconds. The gray sedan stayed behind me through another turn, then another. Jake told me not to drive home. Don't lead him to your apartment. Drive somewhere public. Police station if possible. The nearest station was 20 minutes in the opposite direction, and I honestly didn't think I had 20 minutes before I panicked. So I headed toward the all-night grocery store near the interstate, figuring lights and people were better than empty neighborhoods. The sedan followed. Every light, every lane change. I started testing it then, making little unnecessary switches, slowing suddenly, changing lanes for no reason, taking a turn into a strip mall parking lot and immediately circling back out. He copied all of it. I remember Jake going quiet for a second on the phone, then saying, "Okay, listen to me. Stay on with me. Do not stop anywhere dark. I'm getting in my truck right now." My heart was hammering so hard I could hear blood in my ears. I pulled into the grocery store. A lot faster than I should have, cut through the rows toward the front entrance, and parked directly under the brightest overhead lights near the cart return. The sedan rolled in after me, slowly. It didn't park right beside me. It stopped 3 spaces away, angled slightly toward my driver's side. I could see him now. Middle-aged maybe, baseball cap, broad shoulders, just sitting there with both hands on the wheel. He never got out. Jake was still on the phone telling me to go inside, stay with employees, call police. I had my hand on the door handle when the sedan suddenly backed out and drove away. Just like that. No squealing tires, no rush. He simply left. I remember sitting there shaking, watching his taillights disappear. Jake still came and followed me home. I felt stupid afterward. Shaken, but stupid. We told ourselves maybe it was some creep who got spooked by the lights. Maybe road rage. Maybe mistaken identity. The problem was, 2 nights later, I saw the same gray sedan parked across from my apartment complex. I wish I could say I was 100% sure it was the same car because of the bumper sticker in the headlight, but memory gets messy when fear is involved. Still, same make, same faded gray paint, same off-color headlight. It was parked on the curb across from the leasing office when I got home from work. Engine off. Driver inside. My chest went tight so fast I actually drove past my own building and circled the block twice. By the time I came back, the car was gone. That's when I finally filed a report. The officer I spoke to was polite but basically told me, without a plate number, there wasn't much they could do. He advised me to vary my route home, be aware of surroundings, and call immediately if I saw him again. So I did all of that. Different roads, different departure times. I started checking mirrors obsessively. I parked under lights. I carried pepper spray clipped to my purse strap. For about a week, nothing happened. Then one Saturday afternoon, I was at Target. Broad daylight, middle of the day, and I saw him inside the store. Not the car, the man. Or at least, I think it was him. Same build, same baseball cap. He was standing near the pharmacy aisle pretending to compare cold medicine while looking directly at me in the reflection of the anti-theft mirror. The second I noticed him, he turned away too fast. That's what made my stomach drop. Normal people don't snap their heads like that when they get caught looking. I abandoned my cart and walked straight to customer service. Just stood near the desk pretending to text while watching. He lingered in the aisle for maybe 30 seconds, then walked briskly out the front entrance. I didn't leave for another 20 minutes. From then on, it got stranger in ways that were harder to explain. Small things. My apartment buzzer would ring late at night, and when I answered, no one spoke. Once, around 1:15 a.m., someone knocked 3 times on my door. Calm, deliberate knocks, not pounding, then walked away before I reached it. My downstairs neighbor said a man had asked her whether the brunette in 3B still lived alone. She thought it was maybe an ex, and told him she didn't know. I bought blackout curtains after that. Started sleeping with a chair wedged under the knob, even though I knew apartment doors opened outward, and the chair wouldn't help much. Then one Tuesday, my manager asked why I'd left early the day before. I told her I hadn't. She said a man had come in around 5 asking for me by first name, saying he was my boyfriend and I'd forgotten my phone in his car. He'd known exactly where I worked. Exactly when my shift ended. Security checked the cameras, and there he was. Baseball cap, gray jacket, waiting near the employee entrance for almost 15 minutes before leaving. Police took that more seriously. They pulled the footage, increased patrols around my complex for a few nights, but again, without identification, without him directly threatening me, there wasn't much immediate action. My brother stayed over for a week. Nothing happened while he was there. Then life started doing what life does, and the fear dulled around the edges just enough for me to function again. I stopped jumping at every unfamiliar car. I told myself maybe police presence scared him off. Maybe he'd moved on. Then came the part I still replay in my head because it's the moment I think things could have gone very differently. It was raining that night. One of those miserable cold drizzles where the roads shine black under every streetlight. I'd left work late again and took a longer route home specifically to avoid a routine. I was maybe 10 minutes from my apartment when I saw headlights behind me make the same 2 turns I did, then a third. My stomach dropped instantly. Same spacing, same patient distance. I didn't need to see the car clearly. I knew. I drove straight past my apartment and headed for the police substation near downtown. The sedan stayed behind me the entire way. My hands were slick on the wheel. I remember blowing through a yellow light because I was terrified of stopping. The substation lot came into view, and the second I turned in, the sedan accelerated past the entrance and kept going without braking. I sat there in my locked car for maybe 5 minutes just crying and shaking. Officers took another report, this time with nearby traffic cam footage that partially captured the plate. It turned out the vehicle was registered to a man in the next county over with prior arrests for stalking and unlawful entry. They picked him up 2 days later, according to Eva. Detectives, he denied everything. Said the similarities were coincidence. Said he shopped where I shopped, drove where I drove, had never seen me before in his life. But when they searched his car, they found printed screenshots of my social media photos, a notepad with my work schedule written out, and directions to my apartment complex. They couldn't prove enough for the bigger charges because he'd been careful enough not to directly confront me, careful enough not to put much in writing, but he took a plea on stalking and harassment. Last I heard, he served some time. You'd think that would make the story feel over. It doesn't. Because about 6 months after the sentencing, after I'd moved to a different apartment across town and changed jobs, I came home one evening and found a folded piece of paper tucked under my windshield wiper. No envelope, no stamp, just one sheet torn from a legal pad. It said, in handwriting I didn't recognize, "You took the long way home on Tuesdays." No signature, no explanation. Police couldn't trace it. Maybe it was him. Maybe it was some sick prank by someone who knew the story. I'm not completely sure. But I sold that car the next month anyway. And even now, years later, I still do this thing when I'm driving at night, where I make one extra turn I don't need to make, just to see if the headlights behind me do it too.